Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ice-Burgh To Go, your daily dose of Pittsburgh Penguins news and analysis. You can find us on YouTube at Inside the Penguins or anywhere you get your podcasts from. The Pittsburgh Penguins have played much better hockey overall in the month of November than they did in the month of October, and it's led to a pretty decent amount of success, I'd say. 5-1 on the month. They've beaten some pretty good teams in the Anaheim Ducks and the Los Angeles Kings, but it wasn't enough to get the win over the New Jersey Devils. The Penguins, dating back to last season, have now lost their last 5 games against the New Jersey Devils, all 5 of them being multi-goal losses for the Penguins. The good thing, if there is a good thing to take from a 5-2 loss, is that the Penguins didn't lose because the Devils figured out the new system that the Penguins have decided to run. If you missed what we talked about, I believe, on Wednesday's episode and on Thursday's episode, Jesse Marshall, a friend of the show, outlined earlier in the week what changes the Penguins have made to their system, specifically in the neutral zone, how they're trying to clog up the neutral zone and force teams to beat them off of puck possession. Now, he goes much deeper into it and shows video evidence of how this is supposed to work, so go check that out over at The Athletic. Again, Jesse Marshall does a fantastic job. But the goal in its entirety has been to limit the chances off the rush and to force teams to dump the puck in and beat the Pittsburgh Penguins off of the cycle. And that new system has worked wonders. It's the reason the Penguins have gone from a team that was 3-6 and in the basement of the Eastern Conference at the end of October to a team that was the hottest in the NHL over the past 2 weeks. And again, positive sign, it wasn't the system that they were running last night that got beaten by the New Jersey Devils. Because unfortunately, they didn't play to that system very well. Nobody on the team played very well last night, and the result was similar to what we saw earlier in the season. Specifically, games against the St. Louis Blues, the game against the Ottawa Senators. It was a lot of bad habits from October and from those first weeks of the season that showed up on Thursday night and ended up hurting the Pittsburgh Penguins and costing them a game that they should have won. A game against a team that was missing their top 3 forward stars. But they didn't play to their system. They let the bad habits of the early season creep in, and those bad habits almost led directly to every single goal that the New Jersey Devils scored last night. Forwards were overcommitting in the offensive zone when the Penguins didn't have possession of the puck. They telegraphed passes at the top of the zone. That led to turnovers with a lot of players trapped deep, and that also led to a lot of open space in the neutral zone, space that a fast team like the New Jersey Devils were able to take and were able to take advantage of over the Pittsburgh Penguins. You look at those goals that they allowed last night. 3 of the goals were directly off of turnovers at the top of the Penguins' offensive zone. It was Brian Rust trying to come in on the power play in the first period. He sends over a pass lackadaisically, and it's read by the Devils, and they get a 2-on-1, and what happens? Tie game. It happened 3 times off of turnovers last night, and 4 of the 5 goals for the New Jersey Devils were off the rush. That's how you know it's a pretty key indicator that the Pittsburgh Penguins were not playing the style that Mike Sullivan had changed and asked them to play. Now, that could be for a multitude of reasons. Sometimes you just get out of your system. Sometimes when you're playing a team as fast as the New Jersey Devils, you overextend. You get out of the system because you're trying to make a play, and these guys are hard to keep up with, especially for a team that, albeit faster this season than the Pittsburgh Penguins, still aren't among the fastest teams in the NHL like a team like the New Jersey Devils is. So, what's the result? Turnovers at the top of the zone. Very, very wide open neutral zone, which leads to, for the speedy teams like the Devils, opportunities off the rush. Way too many opportunities off the rush yesterday, and they capitalized on 4 of them. Now, it is just one game. It's one game. They were off their system. They were over their skis. They weren't playing the way that they need to play in order to be successful. They weren't playing the way that they had played in the 5 previous games that got them on that win streak and got them out of the early season hole. But it highlighted the Penguins' warts. And when they're not playing to their system well, this is what they're going to look like. They're going to give up a lot of those opportunities, and they're going to hang their goaltender out to dry, a goaltender who was not particularly on his game. In a game like that, while yes, there were way too many opportunities and most goaltenders were going to suffer because of it, Tristan Jarry just wasn't on his game. And it's scary when you have a goaltender that is that volatile in net. It's voodoo. The position has always been voodoo. But Tristan Jarry struggled last night, similar to how he struggled early in the season. And as many people have outlined on Twitter, as many people have outlined in messages to me, as many people have outlined when I've talked to them in person, it's hard to pin down what Tristan Jarry is going to do in a game because he's either going to get a shutout, which he's done 3.5 times this season, or he's going to allow 4 or 5 goals, and there's no in between. The one thing that I said that I really liked about his game on Tuesday against Columbus is it looked like it was going to be that really bad game where you're going to have to outscore your opponent. And yes, it ended up being a high-scoring game against Columbus, but Tristan Jarry really brought his game together after a poor performance in the first period. That didn't happen last night. Jarry was not able to make the timely saves. Jarry was allowing some weak goals. He was out of position. He didn't look confident, and that's something that's going to need to be addressed by either the goaltending coach, either the head coach, or if it gets bad enough, it needs to be addressed by Kyle Dubas. And at that point, it's not trying to fix something. It's trying to change something when it comes to personnel. I don't know how they do it, but they need more consistency from Tristan Jarry because some nights you're going to get what you got last night. A team that wasn't ready to play, a team that was out of their system, and a team that was playing from their back foot the entire game, failing to grab momentum and struggling to keep up with the New Jersey Devils, despite the Devils, like I mentioned, being down a handful of their best players. But again, it's one game. If they come back this weekend, get back to their system, play it to a T, they're going to have a chance to beat the Carolina Hurricanes. They're going to have a chance to beat the Vegas Golden Knights because they've shown this month what they could be at their best. But they showed on Thursday, certainly, what they are at their worst. They need to get back on schedule. I say that in hypothetical air quotes because when they're on schedule is when they're playing this system the way that it has been designed to play and the way that it has worked over the past 5 games. It shut down the Anaheim Ducks. It helped keep them in the game against the LA Kings in order for them to win that in overtime for Brian Rust multiple occasions. It got them a very good victory over the Colorado Avalanche. So at its best, it's a very good system that works well with the roster in place. But when we're not playing to it, you see what happens, a 5-2 loss to the New Jersey Devils. But when they get their spacing and forechecking going this weekend, all will be in the rearview mirror. Just know that we've seen them at their best and at their worst. It's time for them to find a little consistency, and that might be somewhere in between, but that's where you have to be for a long 82-game schedule. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, you can find us on YouTube at Inside the Penguins, or you can find us anywhere you get your podcast from. Back-to-back games this weekend for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Saturday night and Sunday night, we'll have Ice-Burgh recaps for you on the site. Keep an eye on the site as we post in the community section when those recaps will be out, whether it's immediately after the game or if it's the next morning. But that's going to do it for this one. We'll see you guys next time.